Let's go to the topic at hand, which is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day for the year 2024. Like I mentioned before, today is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day and is an annual event which is typically marked on the 15th of January to commemorate the nation's departed compatriots as well as to honor our living veterans. Now, in the past, Armed Forces Remembrance Day was observed on November 11 every year, aligning with the Remembrance Day, or what is called the Poppy Day, for World War II veterans in the British Commonwealth of Nations. But then in Nigeria, the date January 15 holds significance as it marks the surrender of Biafran troops to the federal troops in the year 1970. So Nigerians opted for January 15th as against the previous date of November 11, all right, because the event also marks the end of the Nigerian Civil War, which aimed to divide the unity of Nigeria. Now, each year, to mark this day, a solemn gathering takes place at the cenotaph of the unknown soldier, where security chiefs, political leaders, members of the Nigerian Legion, and other stakeholders come together to pay tribute to our brave war veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice on the battlefield. Today, we'll be talking about the welfare of Nigerian soldiers and also how well has the Nigerian government done in terms of reforming the military? All right, I'll begin with you, Ario, because you sort of like already started, to talk about the issues with the military. So let's take our minds back again, to how it was then and how we got to where we are now.
As a 7-8-year-old in Abeokuta, there's a place by the police headquarters that we will go. The soldiers will go operate. The commander of the local wing will be there to take salute on behalf of the president of the country. And then we will march past, we read the speech, and then even before we left school, we will have been telling us the importance of that day. And I went through that into secondary school, and it continued. And I remember the Obasanjo in 1979 taking salute. I remember Shagari when he took over power with his tall car taking salute. Later they added the release of white
doors
to indicate peace. We saw the pictures and some snapshots of the war in Biafra, the carnage, the death, the starvation, people who suffered kwashiorkor, except children. In war situations, women and children are always collateral damage. So we came up with all of that. And I went through university, 4th degree, second, with all of that. And here I am at 60 plus. When I look back, what has gotten better? Nothing. Unfortunately, those days, we would have been here with the poppy on our dresses. I didn't see anybody on the street. I cannot think of any announcement of any parade anywhere. You see, the military and parade, they are like Siamese twins. That's why they honor them. That's why they do personal parade. That's why they sign them on. These things are just quiet about them. Apart from that, go to military barracks today. The beauty, the neatness associated with them, and with due apologies, contrary to police barracks, is no longer there. And you ask, and the average soldier, whether NC, non-commissioned officer or officer, when you see them, you see honor, you see respect, you see discipline. You just must respect them. But what do we find? What do we find? Not quite 2-3 weeks ago, a soldier was riding a bike against traffic. The governor of the state stopped him. The first thing they would say was, "I'm a soldier." Big deal. Should he have done that before in the first place? No. But because a lot has gone down. General Sani Ibrahim, as chief of army staff, he was proud of the army. But when he retired, he had to say that the army then was army of anything goes. Are we not sustaining that? How much respect, honor, and care do we offer wives of deceased soldiers. If you doubt me, Maryland is not far from here. Go to the cantonment and see for yourself. And when I saw the topics, I almost told you I would be coming because it might draw my tears. I've witnessed wives of late officers being driven out of their homes without getting what they deserve, since their husbands lost their lives fighting for Nigeria. But you know what? A country that will promise sportsmen heaven and earth and will not deliver until after 30-40 years. What are we now saying about soldiers? But the soldier represents strength, courage, and nationalism. At the point that he was signing in, he knew he was signing to die for the country. At every point, he needed to be massaged, to be made to feel good.
Thank you, Are. I mean, signing on to become a soldier, I mean, is a selfless thing because at that point, you know, I mean, there's no turning back. Anything can happen. All right, Mr. Skama,
well,
let's have your
when I was a kid, I knew we went on such parades where somebody would be taking salute on behalf of the president. But it's hard for me to separate Army Day from national independence because the two events seem similar. But there were such parades. And when I became old, I remember Shagari taking those salutes, kind of looking out of place, but at least doing his job. And the thing is that the information that Army Day used to be on November 11 was changed to January 15. That's new to me. I didn't know that. But I'm impressed by it because to use the day the Second World War ended as our national
as our Armed Forces Remembrance
Day would have been a legacy of colonialism. The Second World War was a British affair, so it concerned us by extension. It wasn't really our problem per se.
Yeah, but then we belong to the Commonwealth of Nations. That's
right. I say by extension, it concerns us, but it didn't.
Direct war.
We didn't feel it. It didn't affect us. It didn't traumatize us. It didn't change our way of doing things or thinking as the war did. So it was good. We had to make it relevant to our history. And it was Martin Luther King Jr. who once said that longevity has its place. And like anyone else, I would like to live a long time. But that does not matter to me anymore because I have chosen to do the will of God. The need of his people changed the trajectory of his life and exposed him to so much danger and knew he would die any minute. But because of the need of his people, he chose to do it. So everybody wants to live a long life. But for these soldiers, young men and women that for the call of duty chose to risk their lives and also died in the process, there are people we have to hold in very high esteem. We have to always remember them and pay tribute to them. And a very wonderful way of doing it is taking care of their loved ones, those they left behind.
Okay.
Because we, in some cultures, believe that the dead see what is happening around us, so they'll be seeing the suffering. Some don't believe that, but either way, you must take care of their children and their wives. So when that is not done, something has gone terribly wrong. But the question in Nigeria is what has not gone terribly wrong? Everything has gone terribly wrong. And you talked about the wives and children being driven out with no provision having been made for their new abode. So you're literally throwing them on the street. That they become beggars living under the street, under the bridge, makes no difference to anybody. And it may not have been that there was no money budgeted for their welfare. It may have been just corruption. Some very powerful interest groups, some very powerful commanders may have directed this money to personal accounts. And in our Nigerian right is might, and it's doppelganger. The end justifies the means. We just force people to do things, and the Nigerian society is very aggressive. So if you're not there fighting for yourself, you'll be shoved to the side. Maybe not because you don't have any entitlement, but just because somebody decided to take advantage of you. But we now have a government who tells us about renewed hope. And we have very high hopes in this administration. We have reasons to renew our hope in this administration. So my appeal to them is to look seriously into the welfare of those women and children who lost their fathers in combat.
Thank you. I'll take my next question from there. When we're talking about welfare of soldiers, okay, be they the ones who are safeguarding the integrity of our country, or those who are on the battlefield, wherever, where exactly do we start from? I'm guessing, should we start from remunerations, you know, for an average soldier, you know, who can be called upon at any point in time, you know, to go fight and maybe die or come back. All right, let's talk about how much a soldier earns per month in Nigeria. Now, according to available information online, those who joined the military with SSCE certificates are paid about 50,000 naira, you know, as their starting salary. While those that joined the army using the NCE or national diploma are paid about 50,000 as well. But then for those who hold like an HND or BSc certificate in the Nigerian army, now to start they are paid about 120,000 naira per month. All right, so reviews online say this is really very poor salary, you know, to give to people whose jobs, you know, as it were, it's on a very high risk. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now, before I take your question, let me quickly remind you, during the independence in Abeokuta, we'll be giving plastics with Nigerian flag.
Yes.
Okay, on it. Then we'll be giving food, okay, and something to go away. But during the Remembrance Day, nothing of such happens. So you can remember the difference between the two events. Coming to your question, I don't understand why things have been static along that line. It is the same government machinery, because we say government is a continuum, that awarded humongous pay to members of National Assembly, to judiciary, to virtually every other facets of the service, leaving out people whose life is up there at any time. It's not the same thing if I'm a teacher. My family knows if I go carry the chalk, carry the cane, teach, I will walk back home. But the man you are calling, say, take this gun. There's problem in Adamawa. Go there and call the route. Or some invaders are coming from Cameroon. Go and stop them. He may and he may not come back. It's neither here nor there. So we don't need to beg or flog or even make it an issue here that they've been very unfair to them. So much so that the culture of soldiers entering commercial vehicles and not paying was a way of compensating them, which I think should be thrown away. It made them, I mean, sometimes some drivers will tell them we can't carry more than one when there are two or three. It creates an unwholesome image for them. I would prefer that a soldier comes with a vehicle, sits comfortably, proudly, and then he pays when they ask for money, as against using his freedom to brutalize the conductor and say, I'm an officer. You know, so many things you can think of. I used to have a school, a cafe and viewing center in the military establishment, cantonment, and I knew what I saw. Some will come and say they want their children to learn computing. They didn't have money. Now tell them, yeah, come. Until one woman came one day and brought her 3 children that my husband has gone now for 18 months. We've not heard from him. And I want these children to learn this thing. And I said, so how do we get paid? He said, she won't mind if I will stay with her. That was the height of it. Wow. I allowed the 3 children to be trained free of charge. We even employed Abraham after the training, but we needed somebody. You know, that's why I said it's something that moves me to tears each time they discuss it. I am not going to beg anybody to say, look into it. It's a matter of conscience.
But I'm sorry, I'm interjecting.
Right.
Every year, all right, the government of the day talks glowingly, you know, while delivering Armed Forces Remembrance Day speech, about how much has been budgeted, for the welfare of Nigeria. Look, to buttress my point, let's go listen to the President of the Senate, Akpabio, talk about the provisions for, let's take a minute, let's go listen, and then you understand what I'm talking about.
We are very determined to give them all the resources they need to beef up their number. They don't have enough strength to combat the current situation we are finding ourselves, and so they are understaffed and they are overworked. But we will do everything possible to provide not just the funding for the equipment, but also funding for extra personnel. And that is already provided for in the 2024 budget, so we are ready to go.
The armed forces, security agencies cannot do it alone. Everybody must put hands on deck for us to succeed. So we're calling on all Nigerians to continue to support us in all we're doing. We might make mistakes, but they will never be deliberate. And we assure you that the government of the day.
All right, we're back. So, you understand what I'm trying to say? Every time, the budget is always there, to take care of all these things we're talking about. But then at the end of the day, nothing really gets done.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. I was on a flight from Dubai to Bulgaria, Sofia precisely. And this gentleman sat beside me, was at the beginning of GSM system. And he said he was working for Shell, but he was being deployed to Sofia. And he asked me, "You are from where?" I said, "Nigeria." Proudly, any day I carry my flag. And he said, "GSM will not work in two countries of the world." So what do you mean? He said he will not work in Nigeria and Pakistan. So why? He said corruption. Okay. This happened, it was my 58th birthday that I was going to celebrate in Sofia. And next month I'll be 64. That was 14 years ago. Ask yourself, are we enjoying optimally the GSM? We are not new to talk is cheap. Public officers, leaders will come out gloriously, laboriously, speak, give hope, but beyond between their mouth and the space next, that is the end. And that was why at a conference somewhere, somebody said Nigeria is a fraud. It became an issue, and I told him Nigeria is not a fraud. Maybe we say our leaders, not Nigeria. The average Nigerian is hardworking, resilient, devoted. So all of this is calling attention to the fact that enough of lip service. We are here. This is about the 8th month of the new government. The money meant for those who have been identified as multi-dimensionally poor. Where is the money? World Bank that gave us the money wrote a report and said 99% of those who should get the money are not getting it. Now, if out of 100 they say 99, the negligible one, what do you think is their face? Unfortunately, we are faced now with the accusation against the minister in charge of that particular project. So that has been the trend. Until we kill corruption, we are not going anywhere.
Mr. Zukama.
The thing is that the Senate president is notorious for hyping things. And then beyond that, nothing happens. He once built a hospital somewhere in, I think it was Rio, and he was extolling this hospital, talking how it was world class. But then he had a minor accident in Abuja. Yes. You didn't go to your world class. Minor accident, he went to Germany to treat himself. Oga, what of your world class hospital that you built?
Go.
Now when you okay, who is the Nigerian?
I'm striking while you're out, Mr. Shukama. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right, about the salaries. I don't think there's any country in the world where the average private, the average recruit in the army is wealthy. Because a boy of 19 who joins the army, you join the army at the age of 18, 19, 20 with school start. 50,000 naira is not very little money for a boy of 19. It's a reasonable amount of money. But then the thing is that if you can have accommodation, housing, and your uniforms are taken care of, and your medical, at that age you don't need that much of medical attention, but your limited medical demands are met by the government, then 50,000 wouldn't be that. You can manage 50,000 a month at the age of 19. But then as people go get older, they start having responsibilities. So if you have medical services for antenatal, maternity, children, and maybe public schools that are free within the barracks, there are too many things to do to ameliorate the financial burdens of the soldiers without necessarily increasing the salary. Because in Nigeria, we keep increasing the salary when the naira is purchasing less and less and less. You can have special stores where they get things at discount. There are too many ways to handle their financial issues without. So it's hard for me to say if this is very low or very high. A man is 22 years old, 23, you're a second lieutenant or a lieutenant, and you make 120,000 a month. That's a reasonable amount of money.
You think so?
If other things
Are added.
then if you have a place to live in, because
That is paid for by the government.
Okay. You're a soldier.
Yeah.
You work for the government. Your life has been given and trusted. No, your life is in the hands of the government.
As
They
it
can
were.
deploy you anywhere, and whether you go and come back or not come back is a question of detail. And then the budgeting. What is happening in the Nigerian army is that the higher echelon within the army are very comfortable because of the way the system is, call it corrupt, call it whatever it is, but it was lower ranks that suffer. Even many soldiers have complained that they don't get their allowances. So when they deploy them in the battlefield where they are supposed to be paid certain amount of money for being on duty, they don't get anything, so on and so forth. So there's the need for reform of the system. Until the system is reformed and the budgets are spent, there's transparency and accountability. The spending of the budget will be going in circles. So the thing is, let us improve the system. Let us raise the moral and ethical standards of the society. Like Mr. Goodluck Jonathan once said, God, today, oh, make we remember God, you know. Let's start fearing God. That will help this society.
When you said 50,000 naira, it's enough.
A boy of 19 years old that has a place to stay.
Now, you have forgotten the dynamics of time. At what period of time in the depth of our nation? Is it when naira was at par with dollar?
I'm talking of today.
It doesn't
And by
go.
the time 15,000 for 19 years old, who has a place to sleep in.
Hello, sir. I refuse to accept, and I will give daily examples.
Quickly, Aaron.
Not a time where pure water now goes for 20 naira. Not a place.
Not 20 naira. It's 2 for 50 naira.
Okay. Not a place where a bottle of soft drink is 300 naira. Regular bottled water that was 40, 50 naira before is now 150 naira. Not a place where a quart of ogunfe is 1,500 naira. Where pomo that was for the lowest of the lowest now gets a quart for 300 naira. Not a place where a gram of amala is now 200, 300. As again, 50 naira before. No, I'm giving you regular thing. There is a popular sachet that people take when they have headache. Way back it was 20, 30 naira. Today, well, that's really brand you pay.
I'm sorry.
Today, the same sachet is 500 naira. I'm talking of a sachet that you can mistakenly open and throw away the content. No, all those things are not. You know, this thing, those who have tuberculosis, what do you call it? Asthma. There's this thing they use when they have
the inhaler.
The inhaler. It was less than 4,000 naira. Today it's 48,500 naira. So if that guy got caught in that way, where does he go? That's why I'm telling you. You have to be very general about it. You must be universal and global in your conversation. It's not about 50,000 naira. Even take them to the bus stop. Talking of taking them home. It's not enough. We are not taking account of inflation and the adverse consequences of government policies that weaken the naira and of course reduce our purchasing power to next to nothing. Those who have families of 4 and 5, go and ask them what they go through. A paint can of garri is now 3,000 naira. I remember. Sorry?
That much?
I remember buying one for my auntie in January at 1,000 naira. So Then I said, okay, are you selling Gary or what? I said, no.
January this year?
Yeah. A bag of rice at Christmas was 68,000 naira. Oil, vegetable oil was 48,000. I am giving you this figure because I research a lot and I'm compared to write up or whatever my findings are. So it is not going to be enough. Please. Even ice fish that was
don't go there.
Go to a restaurant and ask for ice fish. A pot of ice fish will be like 1,000 naira.
Well, okay, so we've been talking about welfare of soldiers even as we commemorate the Armed Forces Day today. All right, so in the midst of all of this, as my analysts have mentioned, the whole shine of today, you know, has sort of eroded, you know, with time. Pupils don't go anywhere to march or parade or do anything, okay? It's also sad, okay, because such days such as today hold very fond memories for a lot of us who grew up, you know, looking up to days. Today, for instance, should be a public holiday. It used to be a public holiday way back, you know, when I was a child, growing up, going through secondary school. But today, everybody is all about their business. Nobody is even talking about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and that makes me really sad. But then, in the midst of all of that, a young man took it upon himself to actually write a song for Nigerian soldiers, especially those who are on the battlefield. And a young man, in the midst of whatever else is going on, decided to do like a song just to celebrate our armed forces, you know. He calls it Battle Soldiers, and he's right here in the studios with us. His name is Chibuzo Mbakwe. He is a motivational artist, okay? All right, so he's not your regular guy that will sing yo-yo-yo. His songs are for quite purposeful, let me put it that way. Chibuzo, you're welcome to the studio.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So, of course, the starting point would be for me to ask you, why did you choose to write a song? You know, what inspired you to write a song for the military?
Yeah, because I felt that I'm not a mainstream artist. Mine is just for purpose, like a motivational artist. So I just thought about the army. I said maybe I could do something to celebrate and honor our men and women in uniform.
Do you have any connection, any relations with the army? No, your father, your brother, a family member?
Nobody, but in my younger days, I loved the army. I wanted to go to the army because I love the fitness. That's the training regimen. That's the inspiration. Because I'm also like a fitness coach, so I love training. So these are the things that inspired me. Like, I love the army.
You love the training. All right, that makes one of you. All right, let me mention something I've never really said to people on TV before. I was supposed to be trained as an NDLEA officer much earlier in my years, got the form, got into training academy, and when I rolled in the mud like twice, I ran away myself. Like, true story, guys, true story. Here we are, yeah. No, that life is not for me. That life is not for me. So hearing it from someone who actually likes that sort of a thing, well, that's new. Okay, so what really can you say about Nigeria's military? You know, taking it from your experience as a child, you know, seeing our men in uniform and what it has become today.
Well, when I say Nigerian military, they are doing their best, but you know, before and now there are some changes. I remember those days in school when we were being told they went for peacekeeping mission in Liberia, Sierra Leone, I think Yugoslavia or something like that. But nowadays, just of lately, we are hearing about terrorists, which is actually taking them time to and are totally destroyed. But I know they're making progress, but with time, I believe it will get better.
Just to feel proud of our men in uniform, do you?
Sure, I feel proud. I wish to be with them, but it never happened.
Oh, would you like to get enlisted in the army?
I don't think.
It's a bit too late. It's a bit too late in the day. Okay. All right. So Chibuzo, what would you like? You know, like a military officer to do when they listen to this song you've done for them?
I think I like them to be motivated. Also, the aim of the song is to inspire them at the battlefront, and it's also to celebrate and honor them as per men and women. They're doing a great job, laying down their life for the civilians and the masses. So I want them to be motivated, to also feel happy. You know, like, you see the kind of songs we have nowadays. But I felt this, when Army listens to this, it can push them to another level, something like that.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned while we were talking earlier, you know, the relationship between soldiers and civilians. What do you think can be improved upon, you know, to make better the communication between soldiers and civilians? Because when you hear Amimbo, a typical bloody civilian, excuse my language, will take off. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
What can be done to improve, you know, the communication between the two?
Yeah, I believe access, maybe like access to their reach. Maybe if you want to report an army officer or something, you can see trending videos of sometimes army people beating civilians. If there were numbers to call that, maybe they have advertised properly. People will know. I can always help a friend to call someone on his behalf and something like that. And also, I want to also blame the army because, you know, I was told history will have it that Ikeja used to be an isolated place. It is Ikeja cantonment barracks. So, but now because of urbanization, we now have houses living close to the army. So, residential houses. Remember that when you see an army man in uniform, you become scared. But normally, army is supposed to be in mufti when they come out from the barrack, in an isolated barrack. And so those are some of the things I feel maybe has to be looked into.
Okay. All right. So, Are, over to you. Yeah. He talked about a military man listening to his song and being inspired and motivated. Is a song enough to do that?
I commend him. Why? He embarked on the journey of no reward. He wasn't commissioned and he will not be paid for it. My prayer is that your ancestors will go with the song and make it go viral.
Amen.
So that we get to those who should listen. Like you, I am worried and I am bothered. This is not the army that I grew up knowing. When we say civil war has ended, are we not fighting wars at different fronts today? We are. Now, the last 8 years or so, top military brands were found with their hands in the cookie jar. They stole money meant for weapons, money meant for rations and all of that. What happened to them? The no consequence environment came to play. Some monies were seized from them, some property were taken from them, and it was a case of go home and sin no more. When I remember people like you, when I remember the woman who came to me and said, train my children in computing and sleep with me, my heart beats. And I'm saying, for once, let's have a reorientation. Let it start from us as individuals, us as a family, so that it can permeate and
the larger
go
society
across the country. A new Nigeria has to emerge.
Thank you, Are. Mr. Zukama.
Yes, the thing is about creative people. They are not motivated by money, principally. They are motivated by passion. I was once a magazine publisher, and I observed that most writers that come to write for me, talking money will never do a good job. But those that have passion to write want to write first. And if the money comes, that's wonderful. That's those that write. So that he wasn't motivated by anybody but doing it on his own, is that he's doing what he has a passion for. And that will take you places. A very rich Chinese man said that if you want to make money, do that thing you enjoy doing, that you can do without being paid. Because that you must excel in it because of that passion. I mean, anything you excel in this world will get you money later. So that's the thing about it. But the military, it's very sad that, because to lose a father or that early age, as most of these young kids lose their fathers, it isn't such an emotional, psychological dent and bruises, that you cannot just, the individual cannot, that will continue to trail the individual for life. And that you have to also be disgraced out of the barracks, possibly have nowhere else to go. That is terrible. It's a moral blemish on this country as a whole, but especially on the leadership of this country. It demands that something must be done and be done immediately about it. We are talking about changing our ways from the family. Changes come from the top. The masses behave like their leaders, Just like children behave like their parents without knowing it, the masses behave like their leaders without knowing it. So any real moral or ethical change in any society must start from the top and filter down to the bottom. That's why we must rise up to holding our leaders accountable, demanding transparency and accountability from them. Not there will change in this society.
Thank you, Mr. Izukama. Now, lastly, Chibuzo, let me ask you, have you tried to share this video with the Nigerian military, or who have you contacted?
Yeah, we posted it on social media, we tagged them, something like that. So we also played on some TV stations too. So
Any response from the military yet?
hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully, we fingers crossed.
Okay.
We can.
All right. Thank you so much, Chibuzo. Thank you for coming today on the show. Very quickly, would you like to share your Instagram handle with people watching quickly so they can check you out?
That's at official Chips Inspire. That's OFFICAICIAL, then Chips CHIBZ Inspire.
Okay.
Then INSPIRE. That's it.
Thank you again, Chibuzo. Thank you for what you've done. All right. Like Mr. Zukama said, it's an act not motivated by money, but rather for your love for your country. All right. The country comes first, even before the military. So thank you for doing that.
Having me.
All right. Well, today is still the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Please be kind to men in uniform, okay? Around you, just share the love with them. Because smile at them. You know, say hello to them, okay? Celebrate them however you can in your own little way. They do deserve it. Exactly.